Hi, good evening. I'm Eileen Elibol with Buffalo Toronto Public Media, and tonight we are thrilled and excited to have as our guest this evening none other than Jack Bishop from America's Test Kitchen. Jack, welcome. It's exciting to see you, and I hope you're keeping cool.
I am. It's great to see you, Eileen. I'm excited to have some fun tonight.
Yes, well, we are going to have fun. But, before we begin, Jack, I have to give you a proper introduction. So I just want to tell folks all the wonderful things that you've been up to. Jack Bishop is the Chief Creative Officer of America's Test Kitchen. He was part of the original team that started America's Test Kitchen, beginning with the launch of Cooks Illustrated in 1993. Jack directed the launch of Cook's Country magazine in 2005 and the building of the company's book publishing division. He is the tasting lab expert, as we know, on America's Test Kitchen and Cook's Country. He leads the creative teams working on the television shows, the podcast, videos, magazine, books, and even an online cooking school. Not only that, but he's also the author of 5 cookbooks, among them Vegetables Every Day and the Complete Italian Vegetarian Cookbook. Jack, I'm tired already. You are one busy guy.
I feel like I should sit down. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. But it is exciting to have you. And, you were with America's Test Kitchen from the very start. And the exciting news is that you will be beginning the 21st season. Is that right? Next year?
Yeah. So we were filming today.
Really?
Yeah. So typically we film in April and May, and then edit the rest of the year so we can deliver new seasons in January. So typically it's 26 episodes debuting usually the first week in January. Obviously, we didn't film 26 episodes in the studio in April or May. So we took the time to figure out how to film at home. And so we did 2 weeks in Julia's home. This week and next week, it's Bridget. And we are doing a whole season of what we're calling America's Test Kitchen at Home.
So great.
A little different and really kind of special. And you're really going to get to see each one of the cast members at home doing his or her thing. Making recipes. I've got 16 segments I'm going to do that's going to help you become a better supermarket shopper. So we're excited that we'll be back with 26 brand new episodes in January.
Wow. So the crew is going to take over your house for a while, huh?
I'm going last in September. It's a very long shoot. So was in studio, we have 40 people and it's usually a 3-week shoot. So now it's a 10-week shoot as we go from one person's home to the next. We're still airing season 20 episodes. The last of them are airing the next couple of weeks. So it's all really exciting, and we're really pleased to be able to continue to do what we do, even though we haven't been in our studios.
Well, that's exciting news because thank goodness you're not leaving us high and dry. Thank goodness that you'll still be giving us more new episodes. But now you have a clip that we're going to take a look at. Is that right?
Yeah. So this is actually a preview. Doesn't air until Saturday. It is the next to last episode of season 20. And it is a very appropriate summer recipe, a tomato gratin. So everybody who is joining us tonight gets a sneak peek of what the rest of Buffalo and upstate New York will see this weekend.
It's the middle of summer, and those tomatoes, they are at peak perfection. So what do? You pick them, slice them, and maybe season them with salt and pepper, or perhaps you just dress them and add them to a salad. But do you cook them? No, you don't, because you know that that is the equivalent of culinary blasphemy. Or is it? All right, Bridget. Becky's here, and she's going to tell us about a great dish that might just convince us otherwise.
I hear you're a little bit skeptical, just a little bit. But this is actually a really nice way to use up tomatoes when they're plentiful, when you have those great tomatoes. And cooking actually intensifies the nice fresh tomato flavor.
All right, we shall see.
All right. So a tomato gratin, it combines fresh tomatoes. There's bread to soak up all those delicious juices from the tomatoes that they release during cooking, and then a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top, which will add some nice flavor and texture.
Nice.
So before we get to the tomatoes, we're actually going to start with our bread topping.
Okay.
We're going to make some nice croutons to go on top. Now, this is a really nice artisan style baguette. We tried making this recipe with sandwich bread. We also tried sort of squishy supermarket baguette. Both of those got really mushy during cooking. That's a really common problem with these. So you really want to take the time and find a nice baguette that has some chew to it. This is 6 ounces of baguette cut into 3/4 inch cubes here.
Okay.
And I have a 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil that we're going to heat over medium-low heat. We're using a good amount of oil here. The tomatoes themselves are lean. They're completely fat-free, so this will add some nice richness. Okay, so our oil is shimmering. Let's go ahead and add our bread to the pan. So we want to stir and get these nice and coated in the oil, and we're going to cook these for about 5 minutes until they get all nice and brown and toasty.
And Becky mentioned earlier why it's important to use an artisan baguette. Take the time to find that instead of that really low quality supermarket baguette. We've done a little test to show you. These are 2 different types of baguette. This one here is straight from the supermarket. It kind of looks like sandwich bread. Now they've both soaked up water very well, but look what happens when I just start to work with these. Yeah, it just mushes, falls apart, and it really expels all of those juices. I don't know what that is, but it's not good. Now this is the artisan loaf here, and you can see it also expels some juices, but it's retaining its shape here. So imagine if this was in our tomato gratin, these would still be nice intact pieces of bread. This would be, well, like tapioca pudding, not good.
All right, it's been about 5 minutes. We can actually hear that this bread is ready, right? Hear that noise?
Yes, very, very crisp.
Yes, that's how we want it. All right, so we'll kill the heat there and put these back in the bowl. So now we'll get to the tomatoes. So we need 3 pounds of tomatoes, and you really want to use the best, ripest in-season tomatoes you can find for this recipe. It will work with supermarket vine-ripened tomatoes, but the gratin just won't be quite as flavorful.
Gotcha.
You don't want to use plum tomatoes. Those are actually relatively dry, and they won't have enough juices, so the gratin will bake up sort of dry. We'll just cut our last tomato here. We want to take out the core, and then we're going to cut it the same size as the bread, about 3/4 inch pieces. Okay, so our tomatoes are ready to go there.
Beautiful.
And now we're going back to our skillet.
Okay.
So we'll get some low heat and 2 more tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil.
Okay. We don't need to wipe out the pan or anything.
Nope, everything's going back in. It's all going to the same place. We just want to get that a little bit heated up.
And that pan was pretty hot, so that shouldn't take very long.
Right. So now I'll add 3 cloves of thinly sliced garlic.
Okay. I like where this is going.
Oh yeah. Garlic and tomatoes. As soon as it hits the pan, you start to get that really nice smell. We're going to cook this for 30 to 60 seconds. We just want the outer edges of the garlic to start to get golden here.
I like that you use sliced garlic instead of minced garlic, so you're going to get a more subtle garlic flavor.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd pick up on that.
Yeah.
That's smelling amazing. I think that is our signal that we can add our tomatoes. So in goes our tomatoes. That's 3 pounds, that's a lot. Now I have 2 teaspoons of sugar, and that's going to just bring out the natural sweetness that the tomatoes have. And then a teaspoon each of salt and pepper. And now we'll just increase the heat to medium-high. We want to cook this for 8 to 10 minutes until the tomatoes release enough juices so that they're mostly submerged.
Okay.
We're going to really concentrate those juices and evaporate a few of them too, so the gratin isn't too watery.
I see. Okay. And how long?
8 to 10 minutes.
All right. Heavenly smell.
You're taking a nice deep inhale.
Amazing. Amazing.
So you can see quite a bit of those juices have come out. It's starting to smell, like you said, really good in here. The tomatoes are all cooked. I'm going to turn the heat off. So now we're going to add some of our bread. I took out 3 cups of the bread, and I'm leaving 1 cup behind just for now.
Okay.
I want to mix in most of the bread. It's going to create a really nice, soft, almost bread pudding-like kind of texture when it soaks up some of those juices. So I'm going to stir those in. So we want to get all this bread completely coated in those juices. Okay, so now I'm pressing down with my spatula. I really want to get all those pieces underneath so they can soak up those delicious juices.
It is like a bread pudding.
It is. Okay, and then I have the 1 cup left over, and I'm just going to scatter these over the top. Now these will bake up nice and crunchy, so we have some nice contrast on top.
The gratin, part of gratin.
Ooh, mais oui. And now I just want to press these down just a tiny bit, just so they don't go anywhere, just right on top. Okay, and now our final touch is 3/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. That's going to be salty and nutty. It's going to brown. I mean,
thing of beauty.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to bake this in a 350-degree oven for 40 to 45 minutes. After 30 minutes, I'm going to go in with a spatula and loosen it around the edges just to loosen any crust and let any juices come up. This is not going to break down and turn into a sauce. We're not going to stir it. It's relatively low heat, so we're still going to have some nice intact pieces of tomato.
Okay, no tomato sauce.
No, I guarantee.
All right. Oh, wow.
Ooh, that smells good.
Bubbling and brown.
Yes. All right, so that was 45 minutes. It smells amazing. Now, you'll see it's a little bit jiggly right now. See when I shake it?
Oh, yeah.
So we're gonna let this cool for 15 minutes, and it will set up a little bit, so it's important to let it cool. So I'm gonna leave this towel on the handle here so we remember not to touch it. We don't burn ourselves. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes, and you can see the jiggle is mostly gone. So before we dive in, I'm gonna prepare just a little bit of fresh basil. We need about 2 tablespoons here. And it's nice to chop basil at the last minute so it stays super fresh. It'll turn sort of dark and discolor otherwise.
That smells incredible.
Oh my gosh, I know. It's one of my favorite smells. So I'm just rolling the leaves up a little bit here. It makes them a little bit easier to chop. And we'll go through them in one direction. This is a pretty rustic dish. It doesn't have to be fancy at all. And that looks close to 2 tablespoons. Just give that a nice sprinkle over the top.
Wow. As soon as they hit that hot tomato and hot cheese on top, you can smell that basil. That's gorgeous.
Ooh, all right.
That's it, right?
That's it.
Okay, no more waiting.
Let's dive in.
Ah, yes. And you serve it like a bread pudding too, nice and scoopy.
That's right. There you go.
All right. So you do see pieces of tomato in there, and I wasn't sure if you were being completely truthful with me.
You didn't trust me?
Well, I always trust you, but I know summer tomatoes, they just want to fall apart.
Yeah.
But really, I think the bread in there absorbed enough of that juice so the tomatoes weren't actually stewing in their own juices for the entire time.
Exactly.
All right. Really, really, I mean, you're right. The tomatoes concentrated down. A little bit of sweetness was released. Very seasoned. I love these bits of bread. They're kind of like little dumplings.
Yes, that's it. Soaked full of tomato juice. They kind of expand with all the juices.
You did everything to bring out the best of the tomatoes. You treated them very simply, just chopped them, and you had that oil and the bread, let them stew in that, but you didn't add a lot to the pan. You weren't trying to mask that flavored tomato. It really is incredibly elegant.
Yes, well, for an elegant lady, an elegant dish.
I love that last minute flourish of basil. It's perfect. I couldn't have asked for anything more, except maybe more.
There's plenty.
Well, there you go. This beautiful summer tomato gratin starts with bread cubes toasted in a skillet. Cook garlic in oil, then add tomatoes, sugar, and salt, and cook them until the tomatoes are submerged in their juices. Off heat, stir in 3 cups of the bread cubes and arrange the remaining bread on top.
Oh boy, a symphony of summer. I am so hungry right now, Jack. And I have to say that when folks tune in to WNED PBS on August 1st at 1 o'clock, the audio and the video will be together. I love technology.
So it's, you get what you get, right?
Yeah. And I remind folks, this is a web event, so there is going to be a bit of a delay. Not as much as we saw just now, but there'll be a bit of a delay. We're so sorry about that, but please feel free to ask any questions. We'll try to get to as many of them as we possibly can for Jack. But Jack, we want to get cooking right now with you.
Yeah, so I must have had ESP and thought it's going to be, is it 90 degrees in Buffalo today?
Close, and the humidity is off the charts. Man, I am just limp.
So we're doing summer, but we're not going to turn on any heat.
Good.
So 2 really interesting summer salads.
Okay.
Use summer produce and cheese to make really interesting salads. So I'm starting with watermelon.
Oh, love it. Yeah.
This is 4 cups of seedless watermelon.
Okay.
I chopped it with, it's 1-inch cubes. You can see them here. Kind of nice cubes. There they are. Tossed it with 2 teaspoons of sugar because this is a watermelon and tomato salad. And as much as I love watermelon and I love tomato, they're both a little juicy, i.e. they could make a very soggy salad. So
Yeah.
the way you salt vegetables, in this case, we sugared the watermelon, and we've got all of this juice down here that we are not going to use. So I'm going to put the watermelon aside. This can be done 30 minutes to 2 hours in advance.
Okay.
The idea is to just get some of the excess moisture because it's called watermelon for a reason. There's a lot.
That's right.
Just saying.
Right.
So our tomato component is cherry tomatoes, 12 ounces. Now, we eat with our eyes. We really do. And so if you're going to use red watermelon, I'd like it if you use yellow tomatoes. It will be fine with red cherry tomatoes. But I think if you want to go with red tomatoes and yellow watermelon, that's fine too.
Oh, right.
You're going to see that we get some contrast. And so this is 12 ounces of cherry tomatoes. These are, I would say average size cherry tomatoes, and I'm just cutting them in half. A little trick besides using a sharp knife, it is a lot easier to cut through the poles. So if you think about a tomato, let's call this the equator, and let's call this, is this the North Pole? So let's cut through the poles. You're less likely to pull apart the tomatoes. And why that's important is not only because of the way it's going to look, but all those recipes, including the one that my Italian grandmother would make that talked about seeding tomatoes, most of the flavor in a tomato is actually in the jelly that surrounds the seeds. So if you think about this part of the tomato here, where all the jelly, that has the most flavor. So you don't really want to end up with all the jelly on the board. You want it in the bowl. And so.
Oh, okay. I learned something new, but then I always do when I watch America's Test Kitchen because, we love the way you combine the artistry of cooking with the science behind why things turn out great.
Well, thank you. We're going to season these tomatoes with a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and pepper. We want everything to be seasoned. And we also want to, as we prep the rest of the salad, just get these a little bit juicy. We're not going to draw out a lot of juices here because these are not going to sit. You're going to, at this point, while you can do the watermelon advance, you're really doing the rest of the recipe to order, so to speak. I'm going to put my tomatoes aside. And next up, I've got a big bowl here that I'm going to build my dressing in. And this is interesting. It's there's already a fair amount of sweetness and acidity from the tomatoes and the watermelon. But I've got a tablespoon of lemon juice. And I just wanted to show you guys, if you do not have a zester like this is actually was a woodworking tool. You can see it up here with this nice handle. It's kind of built on a rasp. This one is made by Microplane, which is the top-rated model. We use this for zesting citrus fruits. It's great for garlic. You want to add garlic to a salad dressing, and you really want to puree. It's way better than chopping ginger is to grate ginger, so you get a really smooth puree. It's great for grating chocolate. So what I'm going to really do on this is I need a 1/2 teaspoon. So I'm just going to put a little bowl down here.
Okay. So that's a must-have tool because you're going to get a lot of use out of something like that.
Yeah. And of course, I didn't mention, what's the #1 use for this tool? Come on, Eileen. I know you can do this.
The #1. Okay.
Yeah, and think pasta and...
Oh, Parmesan?
Oh, yes. Ding, 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 ding. I mean, it is definitely the tool you want to be using. One of the reasons we like this, besides the fact that you get really fine grating, is that you don't pull off too much of the pith. So, the colored skin is really where all of the essential oils that are really flavorful here are. And if you are pulling off the white pith underneath, it's very bitter.
Bitter, right.
And so you really don't want that. So we've got...
And it's always great to do your grating right before you mix something together. I mean, don't go for the I mean, the pre-bought Parmesan is okay, but it's always best to really grate it right before you add it to the dish. I mean, because the flavor is so much more powerful.
Yeah, so it's a half a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of zest, a tablespoon of lemon juice, and then we're going to fortify this with another tablespoon of, I've just got plain old cider vinegar.
Okay.
Just to give it an extra shot of acidity. All right. And then, of course, there is no salad.
Yeah.
Olive oil. Sorry, I need my whisk. This is great. I didn't get the whisk out. It's going to be very difficult to whisk the salad dressing without a whisk.
Yes, but I do love your big bowl. I like it, a nice roomy bowl for mixing.
Yeah, I think one of the big mistakes, especially with leafy salads, where you really want to toss, but pretty much any salad, is whatever bowl you think you need, get the next size up.
Okay.
Because there's never enough room, and you are going to be much happier with a bigger bowl. So this is 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. We're going to talk about olive oil in a little bit, and I'm really just mixing it up here. There's no great science to this.
Okay. And we do have to tell folks that these recipes are on WNED.org, so you don't have to worry about trying to scribble down the recipe as Jack is cooking today. They are on our website right now.
Great. Yeah. And this is the watermelon tomato salad. The dressing is done. We've got 3 more ingredients. Shallot.
Okay.
So, you could use red onion, but the wonders of shallots are they're milder and they're smaller. So this is raw.
Mm-hmm.
So this is frankly enough as far as I'm concerned. And we're just going to cut this crosswise. We peeled it into thin rings.
Okay.
All right. Separate those rings. This is definitely something to do with the last minute. The shallot will get stronger and stronger if you let it sit. But if you drop it into a vinaigrette, the acidity in the vinaigrette immediately stops the chemical reaction that makes shallots and onions pungent. Same thing with garlic. So it's a really good idea to chop them at the last minute and then get them right into the dressing. So
now, Jack, sorry to interrupt, but someone is asking, are there any substitutions for the olive oil in the salad dressing because someone can't eat it? I mean, is there anything you would suggest?
You could use any oil. I mean, the issue with olive oil is you're getting so much flavor. But if you are able to have avocado oil, which is lovely, you can use any vegetable oil. If you wanted to, try a nut oil, like I love walnut oil.
They're really healthy. I mean, this is all kind of based on that Mediterranean diet.
Yeah. And so we've now made our dressing. The thing is that the olive oil here, though, is besides adding fat there's not a whole lot of fat. You'll see there's cheese coming. It's adding flavor. And so at this point now with the dressing, I can then put my tomatoes into the bowl.
Okay.
And again, that's 12 ounces of cherry tomatoes that I salt and peppered. You see that they're just slightly softening.
Now, are those homegrown tomatoes? I know, Jack, that you are an avid gardener, and you have a lot of tomato plants in your garden, right?
Today's the first harvest, guys.
All right.
My garden has been going gangbusters. My first tomato harvest. So this is my 4 cups of watermelon. You see back in this bowl, it's really quite a lot of juice that would make a very buttery salad that we got rid of. Next up, 6 ounces of mozzarella. Now you can get, it has to be fresh mozzarella. Here's the Test Kitchen's top-rated brand. It's from Wisconsin, actually, a company called El Gioioso. They sell it in different sizes. If you get a big block, you can tear it into pieces. But what I love about this is these are little pearls, and I don't have to do anything. I can just add them as is to the salad.
And it looks so cute, too.
Totally cute. And then last but not least, I've got a 1/4 cup of basil. And as Bridget and Becky were just saying, you always want to do basil at the last minute. And honestly, in a recipe like this, I just tear it. I find that I don't even really want to chop it, and that just tearing it gives you small enough pieces that they're going to end up on your fork okay, but not so large that you're going to feel like they were too big.
Yeah. You know, and I would never think, Jack, of having watermelon and basil.
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, there's a Greek salad with feta and watermelon. Yeah. So this is kind of a mishmash of Italian and Greek. It's a very classic summer Greek dish with really nice cold cubes of watermelon and feta cheese. There's not tomato traditionally in that, but we just thought, you know what? It's a really pretty salad. I'm going to put this up. I mean, you just, you know, it just screams summer. I think if you were to get something off of the grill, a piece of fish, some chicken, it's just a really delicious, super simple, kind of interesting thing. But that was like, I mean, I feel a little guilty. It's so simple. I should be doing something more complicated, but
but it's delicious. Now, is it better when you make that the day before, or you really want it to be kind of more freshly made?
It's going to be better freshly made, because what's going to happen is it's going to get soggy. And so if you wanted to do a picnic, you could put it in the fridge. I would wait on the basil to the last minute. You could put this in the fridge for an hour or two, because you do want it kind of cold. I mean, most salads I like at room temperature, but this one, you know, with the watermelon, you really kind of want that crispness. But I think it's going to really get very soggy after an hour or two. And really, if you can do the prep, and as I said, just sort of put everything together at the last minute if you wanted to.
Wow. Well, that looks absolutely delicious. I wish I could fly to your house right now and have some.
Well, and, you know, with anything with basil, it always smells so good. So my kitchen is smelling pretty great right now. So I'm not going to just do one. I'm going to do 2 summer salads. So,
I know we get a bonus, but, you know, the thing is, I do want to remind folks that, you know, because of the COVID situation, you were supposed to be here in Buffalo in March, and unfortunately, we had to postpone. We didn't cancel it. We postponed it. And the good news is that you will be here in Buffalo on March 28th at 6 p.m. At the atrium at Rich's on Niagara Street. And you're going to be doing a 4-course culinary dinner experience with wine pairings. And these are recipes that you've chosen from your anniversary cookbook. And Jack, we can't wait to see you here in Buffalo. And by the way, friends, if you go to WNED.org, you'll be able to find out how to get tickets. So Jack will be here in person. I wanted to get that in right away, Jack, on March 28th, 6 p.m. here in Buffalo. So we're looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to it. It was sad not to get there this March, but next year in Buffalo.
All right, next year in Buffalo. Good, good. And have you ever been to Buffalo?
I have never been to Buffalo.
No? Oh, well, we will welcome you. We'll have to treat you to some of our delicacies, like, of course, wings. We just call them wings here, and beef on weck, and maybe sponge candy. Have you heard of sponge candy?
I haven't. I have a sweet tooth, so you're going to have to tell me about sponge candy.
Okay, you never tried it, right? So
I've never even heard of it. So
I never even heard of it. Oh, it's a local delicacy. It's kind of crunchy like a malted milk ball, but it's just absolutely delicious, covered in chocolate. I'll make sure to welcome you with a big box.
Okay, that's a deal.
Okay, so now what's your second recipe, Jack?
So Italy's most famous tomato salad is a caprese salad. It takes its cues from the colors in the Italian flag. It's shingles of tomato, fresh mozzarella, and basil. And we're going to mix it up and ditch the tomatoes and replace them with peaches.
Peaches?
Yeah. So
again, something unexpected.
Yeah. I mean, they have a similar texture. They've got the sweetness, and they're going to get the acidity. There's some acidity, but not as much as in the tomatoes from the dressing. So the dressing is very simple. It's just a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/8 teaspoon of pepper. I'm at home. I'm not measuring. Did you notice that? In the test kitchen, they wouldn't let me do this.
But it's real. That's what you do at home, right? So
exactly. A 1.5 tablespoons of lemon juice. And then, of course, we're going to stick with olive oil, 3 tablespoons here to make a simple dressing.
Okay. And folks, stick with us because you're going to be talking about olive oil a little bit later, right? Some important things to know.
So I'm going to tell you everything you ever wanted to know about olive oil so that you always make the right decisions.
Okay.
So,
Olive oil 101. Gotcha.
So that's it. It's hard to imagine a simpler dressing. So I have these beautiful peaches, which I'm going to add to my dressing. And I've got 1 pound of peaches. Ideally, you want ripe but firm.
27.
So we're going to shingle these on a platter. And if they were really super mushy, they would be difficult. So I bought these 2 days ago, and I'd say they're kind of in the perfect place. So when it comes to cutting a peach, again, we're going to kind of go around the poles rather than the equator with a paring knife.
All right.
Twist. Cut out my
Do the twist, kind of the way you do an avocado too, right?
Being careful here.
Okay.
To not either mangle the peach or put a paring knife in my hand. But I've successfully done it here.
And by the way, Jack, I do want to tell folks it's March 27th that you're going to be in Buffalo. March 27th, 2021.
So I'm now cutting each of these into quarters and then each quarter into thirds. So I'm getting 12 pieces, and I'm going to do all 3 peaches so everybody get a chance to sort of see that. And I'm just cutting these into nice neat slices that we're going to basically shingle with the cheese on a platter. But I'm putting them in the dressing because when you're doing an arranged salad like this that's on a platter, you want to dress it and then you want to arrange it. There's nothing worse than like putting everything beautiful on the platter and realizing, oh, you forgot to dress it. If you really want the dressing all over, you want to make sure that you dress these peaches before they go onto the platter.
Okay.
Now, if you wanted to use nectarines, you could use nectarines. You could use white peaches. I've got yellow peaches here. I've done similar salads with mango, believe it or not. And if you really felt like you wanted some tomatoes, you could do half peaches and half tomatoes.
Okay.
To sort of mix it up. I mean, this is the joy of summer cooking, is there's a lot more improv, take cues from what is available at the farmer's market, what looks good at the supermarket, what happens to be growing in your garden.
Right. And Jack, I know you're a big salad guy. I think you once said that you could probably eat a salad every single day of the year.
I pretty much do eat salad or leafy greens pretty much every day. I just love salads.
Well, that's why, you look so healthy and you look so happy. So I have to tell you, Jack, I've always loved watching you on your show because you just seem so real, so down to earth. You enjoy what you do. I've always called you the Mr. Rogers of cooking shows.
I'm going to take that. That sounds good. Listen, I have a pretty great job. It's what we do is really fun. I work with great people. So I'm just being really gentle here. Obviously, I don't want to mangle these peaches, but just get them nicely coated with the lemon juice and the olive oil and the salt and pepper. Listen, we have a good time at America's Test Kitchen. Honestly, I think the hardest part that we've had in the last couple of months is not seeing each other.
I'll bet. And, and again, it all comes across as so natural. And you don't go by a script, do you? You just kind of roughly outline what you're going to do. And then you're just chatting with a friend.
Yes. It's, we have kind of talking points. Oh, mozzarella. So in this case, I'm using also another product. This is another version, the Big Ball from Belgioso, our top-rated brand.
Okay.
You have to use fresh mozzarella here.
Okay.
Make summer salads with what I call pizza cheese. Pizza cheese is great for pizza, but if it does not say fresh mozzarella, the big difference is the moisture level. So fresh mozzarella like this, even though this is shrink wrapped, it's not swimming in liquid.
Yeah.
Really matters is the moisture content of the cheese.
Okay.
So the moisture content of fresh mozzarella is around 60%. Pizza cheese is around 45%. And so that's actually kind of a good thing on pizza because it means when it melts, it doesn't make a watery crust and it browns nicely, but it's a terrible thing in a raw salad. And so you really want the creaminess and the delicateness.
Okay.
I've already sliced 8 ounces. I'm going to slice another 4 ounces.
No, Jack, someone's asking what kind of knife you're using. Is that a chef's knife or something fancier?
This is a regular 8-inch chef's knife, but it's made by a company called Global. And it has a stainless steel kind of textured handle that you love or you hate. I would say the majority of my colleagues in the test kitchen do not like this. They like textured plastic. This just feels good in your hand. And I always tell
people, like weighted, so you feel maybe more weight to that handle?
No, it's the opposite. It's hollow. So it's super light. And so I like it because it doesn't get your hand doesn't get so tired. It's also got a very sharp blade. I always tell people if you're going knife shopping, you don't ever buy a knife that came in a package. You want to be able to feel the knife, pick it up in your hand. No hands are the same. And, what feels good in my hand may feel terrible in your hand. And that, everybody's got different size, shapes, bumps in different places. So
I never thought of that, trying out the knife before you bought it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I would suggest that you don't try cutting things in the store.
Oh, no.
They're probably not going to like that. But you can definitely, ask to hold it and feel it and sort of see, are there any bumps or ridges that are, uncomfortable?
Okay.
So I've got now another pretty platter because salads deserve pretty platters. And I'm going to do a sort of artful arrangement like you would with a caprese, where you shingle tomatoes and these very thin slices of fresh mozzarella. I'm doing the same thing, but with my peaches. And my peaches are very—
A lot of people are saying, Jack, that they wouldn't have thought of peaches, but they can't wait to try this because at first they said, peaches, what? But, it sounds fabulous. And again, the presentation, as you say, we eat with our eyes as well. So this looks beautiful. And it's something surprising. It's kind of fun. We all have those recipes we like to do over and over, but it's kind of fun to change things up now and then.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm perfectly willing to make and eat classic caprese salads, but why not mix it up? And, especially if you have access to beautiful peaches. I think peaches work really well with pork from the grill. I think the salad would also be really nice with a piece of fish from the grill.
Yeah.
I think this is also a nice kind of, if you were going to do a lunch salad and wanted to do something maybe to go with a grain salad, if you wanted to do 2 salads, I'd do a second salad with grains that doesn't have cheese. It's just, it's super pretty. It allows you to have some fun with the plating. If you're cooking with your kids, kids would really love to do this part. I was
going to ask you, do you cook with your kids? And, I'm sure they've learned a lot from you over the years.
Yeah. So my wife and I, we have 2 girls. They are 21 and 25. So, we're at a different spot in life with them. I would say we're trying to get them to cook for us. Sometimes with some success.
Now, are you on speed dial with them in case they have a disaster in the kitchen?
Oh yeah, I mean, we're like sending them recipes all the time.
Yeah.
We're looking at things on FaceTime to problem solve, designing menus. So you see here, if I have extra slices, I'm just kind of making a second layer in places. And this is pretty much there. All right. Gee.
Are you testing it out, Jack? I think I heard you munching.
I just want to say, I didn't count the number of slices of cheese, but I did a pretty good job of matching cheese to peaches. And then for this recipe, remember we got the Italian flag. We could either do whole leaves, or we can, again, tear them and just put a little bit of basil on top in places. And then one last step here, is the beautiful juices that are left in the bowl, the dressing, is just spoon that back over. Because if you're wondering, hey, what about that cheese? It didn't get dressed. The cheese is now had a chance. So
to get dressed in public. Yes.
You watch Cook's Country. This is a Cook's Country recipe that my colleague Ashley Moore developed. She's a food stylist, and I think you can tell, like, somebody who's a cook and a food stylist developed this recipe.
Yeah. Wow. That looks spectacular, Jack. That looks so delicious, so fresh, beautiful.
Yeah. So is it time to talk olive oil?
Sure, we could talk olive oil, but I have a question for you, Jack, because what I want to know is, how is it that a guy who graduated from Yale University with a degree or a Bachelor of Arts in English Lit got into the cooking world?
Well, I like to say, first of all, you can do anything with an English major.
Yeah.
You're learning to write and think. And I like to think that's basically my job, is to write and to think. Mm-hmm. In terms of the cooking part, when I'm the oldest of three kids, my mother's mother was an amazing Italian-American cook. When I was 12, my mom started working out of the house. And so we'd eat dinner at 8 o'clock where somebody could take charge. And as the oldest, it's kind of, I'm a Leo, I'm the oldest. I decided I was going to start doing the cooking. And my mother literally for the first couple of months would call me every afternoon from work and walk me through be on the phone. And I was like, I got it, Mom, after a couple of months. And I was bitten by it, and I loved cooking. And
wow. So you're really self-taught, right? I mean, you really haven't gone to any formal cooking school, correct?
That's correct. Most of my colleagues who you see cooking on America's Test Kitchen, they've been to places like the Culinary Institute of America, Johnson & Wales. They've worked in restaurants. I'm self-taught. I like to tell my colleagues it's an asset because it means I can relate to our viewers. Because my knife skills are mediocre at best. I'm a little slow. I'm not going to chop 10 pounds of onions in 10 minutes. I'm not able to.
You're just one of us. I love that. You're one of us.
And I just, I think the adage also for folks who like to write, and I'm a writer and an editor, it's always much better to write about something that you know and you like.
Yeah. And you've got that passion, which shows in the show, which is probably why it's been so successful for 21 seasons. So.
So if you watch the show, and I hope everybody who's out there tonight watches the show, I'm the guy who basically tortures his colleagues by making them do taste tests.
We love it, though. That's one of the best parts, I think.
Yeah, well, I think so too. So,
and that was your idea to start the taste testing, right? Right, Jack?
Yeah, because I think we're really very much a mission-oriented company. We believe in cooking. We believe that cooking makes you healthier, happier. It builds stronger families and communities, and that cooking really requires good recipes, good ingredients, which is why we do taste tests, good gear, and some knowledge of techniques and science, because basically science, when it comes to cooking, is another word for techniques. That's really what the show is based on. And it is, I like to say, if you start with a good can of tomatoes, versus a mediocre canned tomatoes, it's a lot easier to make a good tomato sauce, good marinara, with tomatoes that actually taste good. And so
well, just like, the olive oil. Now tell us about olive oil, because, we're going to be using that in so many dishes, and especially in so many salads. That's kind of, the key. So what do we need to look out for?
So a couple things. I've got actually one of the Test Kitchen's favorite brands. It's actually a domestic olive oil. It's California Olive Ranch. There's a look at the label for you guys. Let's go into this camera. That's probably a better. Couple things about this. Dark green bottle.
Okay.
The brands that are in clear, the light, and this is not just sunlight, but the UV light from the fluorescent lights from the supermarket does not do any favors to the olive oil. So buy it in a dark bottle. A black bottle is fine. Tin is fine. Keep it away from light. If you have those pretty beakers of olive oil that you might want to put next to your stove, it doesn't want to be near the light. It doesn't want to be near the heat.
Yeah.
Most important thing is ignore use by or sell by dates and look for harvest dates.
Oh, really? So, okay.
Let's see. You're seeing there. This says October, December 2019 up at the top. So, and that's the harvest date. Try for this camera, you guys. Let's see. Actually, I think this one's the best one. You see there, harvest date October through December 2019.
Okay.
So, in the northern hemisphere, which is where we are, obviously all the oils from Europe, the harvest is in the fall. It starts in October. Generally, the earlier in the season, the less ripe the olives, and the greener the oil, and the more peppery the oil. And later in the season, the more ripe and more golden and more buttery the oils. So the big thing about olive oil is it has, even if it's unopened, it's only going to last 18 months. And so we're in July 2020. So I want to be buying oils from the fall of 2019.
I see. So look for it from October, November, December, the fall.
Yeah, I mean, if they're oils from South America, they might be from the spring, but 99% of the oils that we get in the United States are from Europe or from the United States. And the thing that you want to avoid is if you see, and you will see if you look in the supermarket, a 2018 oil, it's already past its prime. It's already going to be on the way to rancid because now it's almost 2 years old. So let's say it was harvested in, let's say as late as December of 18. Well, we're now at 19 months, and really it's at the end of its usefulness. And so if it doesn't have a harvest date, don't buy it because they can put.
Really? I'm thinking, did I ever really see a harvest date? I always look for the use by date, but a harvest date, we'll have to look for that.
The Better Bertolli, which is the other supermarket brand that we like, is now putting a harvest date on. The Better oils are putting the harvest date on because it's the use by date. They can put whatever they want on. I mean, there's no regulations around it. And this has a best by date of May 29th, 2022. Well, I would beg to disagree. As much as I like this oil, I would say it's, best by date would be 18 months from December of 2019. So, that would be the summer of 2021. And that by the time you get to May of 2022, this oil is now 2.5 years old.
Oh, wow.
It's not going to hurt you, but it's not.
That's from the States. So that's, in a sense, going to be fresher. It's from the States, from California. Is there a particular olive oil from Greece that you like? Someone's asking if you have a recommendation for a Greek olive oil.
Listen, the most important thing, which I probably should have started with, is buy extra virgin olive oil. And look for, you'll sometimes see cold pressed or first pressed. The big difference between extra virgin olive oil and other types of olive oils, and there's amazing. I think the Test Kitchen's favorite Greek oil is from I think it's a company called Gaia, or maybe it's Gaia. Yeah, I think it's Gaia. But there's hundreds and hundreds of olive oils. But the extra virgin olive oil, there's no chemical or heat applied to get the juice, because that's really what it is. It's the juice
so it's fruit. Cold press, meaning they don't heat up the olives.
They don't heat up the olives, which destroys the flavor, or use chemicals, which is even worse. And so it also has to go through a battery of sensory and chemical tests They're actually people who make a living tasting olive oil to be able to certify in Europe that it is an extra virgin olive oil. In the United States, the regulations are more lax. But in the EU, if you want to sell an extra virgin olive oil, it has to have gone through a chemical and sensory analysis to show that it has no defects.
Oh, I see.
So
that could be your job. You could go and live in Italy and somewhere and be a taster. But well, you know, so those are the things we have to look out for. And in terms of the source, what are we looking for there? The source of the olive oil?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've gone back and forth on this. I think with the high quality oils, it's nice that they come from a single place.
Okay.
So, you know, if you see on the label that it contains oils and it's a list of 12 countries, it's not really an artisanal product. Now, if it's an inexpensive supermarket oil, Bertolli is a good example, and they're doing a good job, it can be a fine oil. But I wouldn't spend $20 or $30 for a fine extra virgin olive oil that wasn't from a single place, whether that place is Tuscany or a region in Greece or a region in Spain. It's just a sign that it's a sort of higher quality product. The biggest thing with olive oil is that you need to harvest the olives and press them. It's a lot like grapes immediately because they get funky and fermented. And a lot of the lower quality oils, they're basically picking the olives up off the ground, not really pressing them all that quickly, and they're already slightly fermented and funky. So it costs more money to sort of manage this with a sort of high quality and speed. And so it's kind of the difference between good wine and mediocre wine and good olive oil and mediocre olive oil.
Well, thank you for all of this information. I feel that we're just sitting with you in your kitchen and you're giving us, you know, the skinny on olive oil because you are so knowledgeable. So we're going to look for those things next time we go to the store. I think I've been doing it wrong, but now I know what to do thanks to you, Jack. And I do want to say that there's going to be some cookbook winners. Folks, I guess you're giving away cookbooks. Folks will receive an email and there'll be details about claiming their prize. But the cookbook is this, of course, from America's Test Kitchen?
Yeah, it's our brand new, it's the complete summer cookbook.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's, I want to say 450, 500 recipes. It's a lot of recipes. So we do big books with everything you'd ever want to make. Everything from desserts to things off the grill to salads. To ice cream, and so lots of make ahead, lots of no cook recipes, because I think lots of people are looking for recipes that don't involve putting on the oven or the stove. Yeah, so we've got 5 copies for five lucky folks who are watching us tonight.
Well, wonderful. Those 5 lucky folks, but I say we're all lucky to have you with us here tonight. And I do want to remind folks to tune in every week to watch Cook's Country and America's Test Kitchen and remind them that you will be here in Buffalo on March 27th, 2021. And it's going to be a fabulous evening of 4 courses, wine. You'll be regaling us with more stories. If folks are interested, they can go to WNED.org for tickets. Those folks that already have tickets, we're honoring those next year, but there's still plenty of room. So if you want to join us and meet Jack and have a fabulous evening and meal, please join with us on March 27th. All the information is there. And hey, if folks also, when they're on WNED.org, want to make that contribution, Jack, as you know, it helps us to bring more cooking shows to the air and more of Jack Bishop. And what couldn't be better than that?
Yeah, I mean, I want to just reiterate that, you know, we are strong partners with public television. As I was saying earlier, we go to work every day. We wake up every morning thinking we have a mission, teaching people to cook, and public television allows us to go into millions of homes every week and to hopefully entertain, but mostly to educate. And we really appreciate the partnership with stations like WNED.
Wonderful. Well, we hope to see many more episodes. We can't wait for the new episode, season 21. And Jack, it's been an absolute delight, an absolute pleasure, and I can't wait to meet you when you're here in Buffalo next March 27th, 2021. Thank you again for cooking with us tonight.
My pleasure. You have a great evening. Have a great summer.
Thank you. You too. We'll see you then.